confirm elicitation results is basically you've done the elicitation activity, you've done the interview, the workshop, you've conducted a prototyping exercise, you've done the user testing, you've done all of those, questionnaire, survey, whatever you're supposed to, you finished that activity, you got the response back, or you're finished with that activity in terms of the elicitation work. And then this is about doing the analysis and then trying to confirm whether what you have understood is right or wrong. So that's what is basically the purpose of this activity. It's about confirming whether the gathered information, the elicited information, is it correct? Did you understand it wrongly? Did you have any issues with, for example, there could be gaps sometimes with taking notes. As I said, sometimes you would have a scribe taking the notes or somebody else taking the notes. If there are some discrepancies, if there are some gaps there, some problems there, if there's some misunderstanding, or there's some kind of a conflict or a contrasting opinion, then you try and engage with the stakeholders, understand whether, now if there is something like that, you would like to go back to them and say, I just want a quick question, won't take long. So this is what I understood from the interview. Is it correct? Is this what you meant by this? Did I understand you correctly? So something like that. That could be a simple way of actually kind of saying that this is a confirmation, right? So this is basically to try and understand whether you got it right with elicitation. So you have the unconfirmed results. So basically you have an analysis, you've got some draft, as what we call draft results and draft outcomes and draft documents or draft reports, whatever you call it as, which is not verified, not validated, not confirmed. And then once you have a chat, an interaction with the stakeholders, with the right people, you confirm. Basically, they do the confirmation. They say, okay, this is good, this is not correct. And then once that is done, you get the final confirmed results. Essentially, that's as simple as that. And obviously, once this is done, then that would feed into the next set of activities and what you're going to do within the knowledge area. And it is also important to know that once you completed this elicitation, you have got a good picture of what is the current state, the as-is situation. So you can then have a better idea about the problems domain, the problem, the opportunities, the needs, the challenges, and what you have right now, so that you can then come up with, you can discuss with architects, the team, and then come up with a to-be solution, which is basically addressing all these ideas, all these problems, the challenges, and then have a better view of handling that. So that's what is called the analyze of the current states. So what do we need to do? We need to actually try and compare the elicitation results. So we need to check, we need to cross-check, we need to validate, we need to go back to them and see whether I've got it right. Sometimes, as I said, there could be a conflicting view in terms of the different stakeholders. The business guy thinks something, and then the technology guy has got a completely different view of the same topic. So then you go back, and then perhaps a workshop is a better way to actually kind of get the middle management people together and then say, well, this is what the boss says about this. This is what is the sponsor trying to say about this from the business point of view. Whereas the technology person, your boss, is saying something else completely. So can we have a common understanding of this? Are we totally different directions? Or can we kind of have a consensus at the end of this session? Let's discuss this, right? That's how we can try and compare the elicitation results against other elicitation results. So you do different elicitation activities. You can engage in interviews, and then you have got workshops. You can use prototyping, and then you can try and kind of compare the notes coming across from these different activities. And then sometimes it actually is going to add to the strength of your observation, the strongness, the strong themes coming out from these different things. So it's going to be like reiterated or adding more and more cause and more validity to your hypothesis or to your theme or to your observations or the findings, whereas sometimes it could be conflicting. And again, that's where you need to kind of give the inconsistencies or the conflicts could actually be highlighted, and then you can discuss them over with the respective stakeholders. So what are the techniques that you would use here? You would use document analysis, obviously, because as I said, we've got so much notes that we can gather. We can actually kind of take either the recordings that you have done, audio, video recording, the notes, and the scanned versions of these different documents. Some of the documents could be written by the scribes, your own notes. All of these are documents, right? So you can try and analyze is you create mind maps. Again, you do the interviews, workshops, all of these different techniques. Again, you could kind of use within this activity again to corroborate your views. Workshops, again, as I said, you can bring in the people, chaff out the differences, the conflicting points or areas, and then you can say, okay, here you go. Now we can now, even though there are 2 points that have got slightly different views of from the stakeholders, we will try and focus on the rest of the 10. Maybe we can just keep these 2 aside because that's where there is a problem. So that is again a consensus, and a conscious decision has been taken by the stakeholders and you, and then you're ignoring that for the time being, but we'll come on to that because it's not really important, nor is it urgent. So we can keep them, park them aside, but for the rest 10 points, we'll have to come up with a plan how we can incorporate them into our product, something like that. You can try and take a decision. And who are the stakeholders that you would typically engage in this? The domain subject matter experts, because they are the people who can vouch for the validity of your observations, your findings, or your insights coming in from the elicitation. So because they've got a lot of experience, a lot of expertise on not only on the areas, the subject matter expertise in their own areas, like the industry that they come from, the subject matter, for example, within the life sciences, you can have drug development, pharmacy, you've got hospital management, there's so many things. Similarly, in the banking, you've got so many specialized areas. Retail banking, you've got investment banking, asset management, there's so many different specialty areas, each of the portfolio management, for example. So you've the best way to actually kind of understand an area is to actually kind of get to speak to the respective person who has got that experience, that expertise in that area, so they can kind of say, give you and point to the right direction, whether you've got it right or wrong. Then you can take a call from there. So best to actually consult the SMEs in that position, and then they would actually obviously identify any omissions, any gaps, any inconsistencies, any conflicts within there's anything that is explicitly or implicitly mentioned in the reports and the findings. They would be able to actually kind of notice that the first thing, because they have been doing that in and out, day in and day out. They're doing that all through their life, the professional life. So they have an instinct for identifying the gaps quickly. So I would suggest you have the domain SME consultation to understand where you would stand with respect to this particular element of the findings or the insights coming in from the elicitation activities. So those are the biggest set of stakeholders that you would have initially to. And then once you have got this view, then you can go back to the respective stakeholders, or you can talk to anybody else to clarify. If you need further clarifications, if you have any gaps, fill those gaps, talk to the people. If you've got further queries, follow-up questions, you can again have a quick call or an email. So you can do all kinds of things following from this conversations you have with the